ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another MTL podcast. I'm your host, Orange Brinkman. Here's my co-star right now on this day's episode, my boy Markel Bland. We'll be going in and out of the day's episode about everything cool in the world of sports right now that we think is popping. It's a beautiful afternoon on 420, so let's get the show rolling. So we seem to have a lot of teams moving over to Vegas. Is that the new trend heading in sports? Which is bow out and go over to Vegas? Is it the new wave of sports betting driving teams towards Vegas?
I mean, I don't know the reason why, because I feel like Las Vegas has always been a pretty like heavily populated area. It's just crazy to think that now all of a sudden teams are migrating there to, I guess there's a raging fan base for sports there. I don't know.
In the past, it's never really proven out that Vegas has done really well for uh, franchises. I, but they also say back in the day, the reason why Vegas never really worked out too well was a lot of the fact that this to sports betting. It's like it's a gambling town. It's a gambling city. Not town. It's a gambling city.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to have a team there, I'm going to want to bet and sports bet on the team. I think one of the things that goes against Vegas is there's so much to do in Vegas. And I don't know about you personally, but when I'm going to Vegas, my thought isn't, okay, let me go to a football game. There's so much to do in Vegas. My thoughts are not, let's go to a football game. It's just, so, you kind of have a lot of locals or fans of teams that go to these games. So with you're moving teams to Vegas, it's kind of hard to, I guess I want to say, like get certain sports to get that real draw in. Like on an NFL team, like you need like 54,000 people in those stands minimum.
Huge crowd, huge crowd.
But you get like a hockey team, like the Golden Knights, you only need like 20,000 people. You need half the people to just even make it look amazing. You don't even need 20,000 people at a hockey game to make it look busy. So I think it's just the fact that I don't understand what's the new hype around Vegas. This all comes from the fact that the Oakland A's are now moving to Vegas, and Vegas has now taken two Oakland teams. Matter of fact, both those teams once shared a stadium. I don't think they're going to be sharing a stadium this time, but at one point in time, these two teams did share a stadium.
Yeah, and that wasn't too long ago. So it's crazy. The mass exodus to Vegas, like I said earlier, I don't really understand. I know there's like kind of like a migration amongst like people in the US to, go out west. And I guess maybe Vegas is like the next hotspot, location. Maybe it's more than just like a little touristy city nowadays. Maybe people are finding like, maybe not their forever homes, but hey, like, let me settle down in Vegas for a little bit. Like, like you said earlier, it's like a lot to do from all the gambling, all the casinos. Um, and it's a lot of like touristy type stuff to do. So, um, the things you can't do in the weekend is like, hey, let me just prop up here for like a couple years and just enjoy the life. Um, but yeah, even just looking forward in the future, like I know once LeBron retires, he's always, said that he's wanted to own the NBA team. Yeah, I know the NBA has like a huge interest in pitting a NBA franchise in Vegas. Ever since the WNBA had uh, their women's team open up in Vegas. So, how you feel about that? Do you think an NBA team will do good in Vegas? They have UNLV, but um, I feel like they haven't been good in a while since like Anthony Bennett. So I'm just trying to think: is it really like a basketball city? Like, they support the women, the WNBA team, but will they have enough support for an NBA team?
I think one thing that might hurt the WNBA team in Vegas is the fact that they move a men's team there. Well, you might get less draw towards that team.
Mm.
I don't know that for sure, but the the Vegas team, the Vegas Aces, are one of the only teams in the women's Major League basketball that really has a successful fan base. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
not too long ago, oh man, Paul George tried to sell. Well, he bought all the tickets to the Indiana. I think it was the Indiana women's team, and he
Yeah.
still couldn't get people to go to the stands, and it was
Yeah.
free attendance. So, I mean, it just goes to show, like, I don't know what good putting a team in Vegas for basketball is going to do. It doesn't really seem like that kind of. Plus, there's the other thing, like it is, which I think is going to be really interesting for like the Vegas A's, I guess what I'm calling them. It's like
Yeah.
there's like 170 games a year, 172 games a year, and so that means about 90 of those are going to be or 80 to 90 are going to be at home. Are you
Yeah.
consistently going to be able to fill those stands like night in, night out? I mean, one of the reasons why Oakland A's fell off in Oakland is the fact that well, the team was no good, and the ownership's going to stay the same. So is the team going to get any better? So probably
Mm.
not. Oakland A's have always been one of those cheap teams that don't want to pay anyone and really can't afford anyone. Even with the change of ownership in 2005,
Yeah.
I mean, they have a whole movie Moneyball based on the fact that they wanted to play cheap. Um, so I don't. I mean, so if you put a Vegas NBA team in Vegas, are you moving a team? Are you expanding the league? If you expand the league, how many teams you add in the league? Two. If you're going to expand the league and you're going to put a team in Vegas, that's your West Coast team. Are you going to put a team in Virginia Beach? They've always talked and
Yeah.
made
There's
that
a
one a
lot of
joke for the longest time.
there's a lot of things they could do. I think definitely it's going to be expansion because I think not just only in the U.S. but like across the globe, basketball is just becoming a bigger and bigger sport. So I feel like it'll be an expansion team, most likely two. I feel like it'll be two West Coast teams, so probably Vegas and Seattle. Seattle's been like begging for a team to come back, or for them to be able to like host an expansion team. So I feel like those are the two most likely destinations. And then I feel like it only makes sense to move the Grizzlies to the Eastern Conference because they're in Tennessee. I have no idea why they were in the West to begin with, but the NBA will probably have to move them to the Eastern Conference. I don't know what division, but it only makes sense to me. Um, and yeah, going back to the Oakland A's, I wonder if like baseball season kind of aligns with like the more busier tourist like season in Vegas. I wonder if like maybe they're kind of making this move so like they know they can capture kind of those crowds, and the fact that they bought land on the strip makes it like easily accessible for people to just walk or take a quick
Mm-hmm.
Uber down to the stadium and just like go watch a game for like I don't know how much tickets cost nowadays, but if I'm a tourist and there's like a MLB game down the street for like $20 or $25, I have nothing else to do, or already gambled for the day, or maybe it's like an early game, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and hey, let's go catch a game before we hit the casinos. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's very very appealing if I'm just like a tourist or just visiting town for a couple of days. That's pretty appealing. So maybe they're like kind of thinking of going in that direction. I don't know how you feel about that.
Mm. I mean, if it's going to be a team in Vegas, it's not going to be $20 tickets. I can tell you that they're going to be up there
Well,
in price.
you gotta steadily like try to creep people in. Like you have to give people an incentive. You don't want to automatically jack up
It's
prices for like
Vegas.
yeah, but I think your new franchise there, you got to be able to capture not only like the high rollers, but you need like the locals to come too.
I don't. mm, I can see where you're
Baseball
coming
tickets
from.
are cheap anyway.
You don't see the Raiders putting their tickets that cheap. But anywho, um, I think they'll probably be around the same par as the Washington Nationals. Due to the fact both the teams aren't very good.
Yeah.
But even Nats tickets don't even get that low, my friend. And I go to the Marlins every year.
Yeah, see, I never been to an MLB game, so but I always figured like Hey, if I can get Wizards games tickets for like $20, I imagine like a Nationals game or any other MLB franchise that isn't like super popular and winning a lot can probably offer tickets about the same for like nosebleeds or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, with that segment, we'll move on to our next topic. Uh, oof, I think everyone's heard about it. Everyone's talked about it. We'll chime in a little bit on it. See you next. So the topic on the news, everyone. Draymond Green, oof, foul, no foul, provoked, not provoked, worthy, not worthy, stupidity. So many ways to describe the events. My friend, I'll let you chime in first and you tell me what you would have done, should have been done, and I guess talk about what was done.
For sure. So I'm sure everyone has heard, have seen on all social medias. If you watch your favorite debate shows in the morning, you definitely have seen it. Uh, the stomp seen and heard across the world. A physical play happened in the fourth quarter of Game Two of the Kings and Warriors game, and I mean, you guys all seen it, so I'm not gonna go over it, but that led to Draymond Green being suspended for Game Three, which, whether you are a fan of that or not, it's a huge, huge blow to the Warriors. So, just to start off, I think at least for me, I think the NBA got this one wrong. In my opinion, I feel like Draymond kind of got an acceptable punishment by getting that flagrant two. Get him out the game. What he did obviously wasn't a basketball play. It was pretty stupid, right? Um, so yeah, I think he served enough punishment by getting out that game. It was still a pretty close game, so it wasn't definitively the Kings were going to win or definitively like the Warriors, were going to win that game. Um, but it's just unheard of suspending players in the playoffs. And I know Draymond got suspended, years back in the finals game versus the Cavs when he, hit Go James in the groin area. And he got suspended for that game five, which was very pivotal because the Warriors were up 3-1 and could have closed them out that game. Um, but yeah, just I know the NBA's reasoning behind this suspension was because of prior history, prior behavior, whatever the case is. But in my opinion, I thought that the NBA playoffs were like a clean slate. That's why we have different stats for the playoffs versus regular season. Um, it's basically a whole new season. It's the playoffs, right? So I don't understand how previous behavior, even if it's been, that season, it could have been that regular season, but you should be able to, as a player, to have a clean slate because you could be over the max for technicals in the regular season, so you could be over 16, but once you get into the playoffs, you get a clean slate. So I don't understand how the NBA determined that because of regular season behaviors and probably, past postseason behaviors can influence this decision. To me, they messed up here. They dropped the ball. Um, I'm not going to get into any conspiracies, but it just seems like they are allowing not only the refs to kind of like take control of games, not this game in particular, but just like overall, like let the refs kind of dictate, put their hold on games. And it's just, I don't know, the NBA is just sending agendas, and I just don't really agree with that. So I'll hand it over to you, Lawrence. How do you feel about that? What's your opinion about this whole thing?
As a person who, fantasy basketball, I consistently picked up Draymond all the time. So I have no, I guess, biasy. Maybe if I was, it was maybe towards him a little bit. But in my opinion, I guess I'm complete opposite. I think they got it right. Only reason. I just feel like the antics after the foul, like you stomped the guy in the chest, you know you're probably getting ejected. So let me not just go flaunt my 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 whole entire agenda off to all the fans in the arena. Like, okay, that was dumb, unnecessary, but whatever, that's fine. You want to do that? It's totally stupid. I think prior instances of him doing stupid stuff in previous post seasons, I think it's warranted to bring it back in because like it's one of those things. It's like, dude, please, for the love of God, like we told you multiple times, like chill out, and you consistently just won't chill out, and you want to act like you're above and better than everyone, and I guess like a lot of famous people act like that, but I mean, if a guy has multiple DUIs and we catch him driving late at night suspiciously, and it seems like he's veering off and doing a little sketchy stuff on the road, and the cop sees that, you don't think the cop's going to pull him out of the car and say, "Man, I need to get your breathalyzer here because based on your previous instances, it seems like you may or may not be warranted for this." Okay, well, based on his previous instances of not being able to get out of trouble, not be able to just keep a game clean, I think it's fair. I mean, I get how people say it's unfair because, oh well, Sabonis started it. I mean, yeah, he did, in a way, start it, but there's no reason you have to stomp a guy on the chest for it. It's stupidity. It goes back to his old stupid move where he smacked Goat James on the crotch, like unnecessary, unwarranted, stupid. Just maybe if you thought a little bit more, except not thinking about yourself, you wouldn't have done something like that. But I think it also goes back to some of the like what Skip said. No, not Skip. What Shannon said on Skip and Shannon about how Draymond's probably like 1 foot in, 1 foot out in the NBA because he's got his little podcast going. And let's be honest, we're going to see Draymond going live on his podcast probably right about now because that's when we're recording this to talk about the Suns and no, not Suns, talk about the Kings and Warriors matchup. So let's not be stupid. Uh, in my opinion, a little. It seems like Draymond's a little all about himself. I mean, you kind of have to be when you're going to punch your teammate in the face in cold blood. So I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why they probably sent this down, and in another way, like you talk about conspiracy theories. I mean, it's one of those things that like it. This is like the greatest leverage for the Warriors in the coming up season to be like, dude, we're just done with you. You punched homeboy in the face. You got ejected in the playoffs. May or may not have caused us to lose our series. Like, can't do this anymore. And at that point, he's going to be in a crossroads of I don't want to play, but I'm going to take my player option, but I don't want to play. And then they try to trade him. Who's going to want him? But he doesn't care because he's half foot out on his podcast and on TNT. Um, so yeah, I think he's. I don't, to be honest, like he probably cares, but does he care? He's got stuff set up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the new media is, the new media, as he calls it, is kind of taking a lot of his attention away from basketball, and it's probably a distraction of sorts. Um, but I mean, I understand all the stupidity, all of this, maybe dumb, unnecessary things he's done in the past. But I feel like if it was any other player but Draymond, I feel like a flagrant two would have been all they got. Um, I mean, even Joe Dumars said that, if it wasn't for Sabonis grabbing his leg, you know, Draymond probably wouldn't stomped on him, So the VP of player conduct is saying that, and yet at the same token saying, yeah, we suspended him because of prior offenses. Like, I just don't get it. Like, the NBA, I feel like when they come to handing punishments for players all over the place. There's no consistency anymore with Adam Silver. in this new regime. Um, like Draymond kicked Steven Adams in the nuts, other players in the nuts during that playoff run. Uh, and he didn't get suspended until he hit LeBron. So I don't understand like where all these inconsistencies are coming from. I mean, it just in my eyes it doesn't make sense. Um, and I feel like it's a bigger issue more than Draymond. And we'll probably touch on this on a later episode, but just like officiating and NBA, like kind of like player conduct issues, how they've handled them, in the past compared to maybe someone like David Stern, who, he had the hammer. He was, constantly letting players know, like, hey, I run this ship. Don't you step out of line. And whether you love David Stern for that, or if you hate him for that, that's a topic for another day. But kind of transitioning, um, his game 3 suspension means a lot to the Warriors. Um, how do you feel, Lawrence, if because of the suspension, it ends up costing them going down 3-0, and they're not coming back from 3-0? So basically, what I'm trying to say is if he costs the Warriors this series, and you kind of already alluded to it, but is it like really over for the Warriors? Are they going to cut bait?
Oh, totally cutting bait, man. I mean, they're gonna tell him, they're gonna talk to him, and then he's gonna be like, "Well, I'll just take my player option because they gave it to him." But
Yeah.
like, I think the cut and bait was set in stone when he
When they leaked the video.
when it was Poole, right? He punched Jordan Poole in the face. I got it right,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
it's so long ago to remember, but he punched Jordan Poole in the face. Like, dude, you burn every ship once you punch him in the face.
yeah,
That's just my thoughts. Like, you punch Jordan Poole in the face, and not one of your teammates even defended you in the slightest. Like,
no,
so many of them side eyed you. And I like brought up with the stomping of Sabonis. Like, Clay Thompson is the one that pushed, or not didn't push, but knocked Sabonis to the ground on a box out. Clay Thompson didn't even stick up for you in the slightest. Like, none of his teammates really sticked up to him for him in the slightest. I think half of them were done with him as well. I mean, half of them were probably thinking, Draymond, man, can you score more than 10 points in a game and like ever?
well, to be fair, Clay didn't defend his actions, but he did say, "Hey, if what do you want the man to do if he's grabbing your ankle or something along those lines?" So he didn't directly defend Draymond stomping, but he was like, "What would you expect him to do? Like, how would you react if someone's grabbing your leg?" Basically. So I think he still has. I think the core guys like him, Steph, Looney. I feel like they still had Draymond's back. Um, But I mean, it's pretty obvious the writing's on the wall. The fact that he didn't get an extension this previous off season and this upcoming off season, he's basically player option in or he's gone. I mean, they're not going to extend them even if they win. They're not going to extend them. So, um, they'll extend Clay before they extend him, and I don't even think they're going to extend Clay. I think Clay might have to shop his services around. Um, but yeah, the writing has been on the wall. This not only Draymond, but the whole dynasty is kind of coming to a close. I mean, they just don't have the money, and the new CBA is basically designed to kill the Warriors dynasty because they don't want teams who have owners with deep pockets to be able to keep paying all this money in luxury tax and have a advantage over these smaller market teams. So it's interesting. We'll see how the game goes. As we are recording, the game just started, so next episode, we shall see if the Warriors are, down 3-0 or if they have won a game or two. Coming up next, we're going to recap some of the playoff action from the past couple of days. But we're only going to be talking about the series that are tied because basically every series that's up 2-0 is going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. So I don't think you guys want to hear about that. So coming up next, playoff action.
All right.
Stay
So the
tuned.
NBA playoffs are getting heated. We got two 1-1 matchups. We're going to start in the East. Uh, we're going to go with Bucks, Heat, then Cleveland, New York. So Bucks, Heat. I'll start you off a little bit with no Giannis, no problem. It looked like in that game. For some reason, the Heat can turn up point scoring in the playoffs, which I guess now when you're looking at that, like, oh yeah, it's good that the Heat are scoring points, but you kind of don't want to score a lot of points. That's not the way you're going to beat the Bucks. So it seems like they're kind of playing more into the Bucks' favor because I mean, if you look at the shooting lines, like field goal percentage wise, the Heat matched the Bucks in field goal percentage. So both of them shot 53%. It doesn't really matter though. I guess for me, what I think is Bam. It was a little underwhelming and has been a little underwhelming the entire series. Kyle Lowry is a little underwhelming,
Oh, for
showing
sure.
his age. Um, can you not? And then the next thing was going to talk about is the fact that Bam and Lowry just keep turning the ball over like it's nothing.
But that's usual then.
But I guess the final thing to lead off on in this opening act is the Bucks had 7 guys with 13 plus points, and holy crap, the threes.
Yeah, I mean they just rained down threes like it was ridiculous. Like uh almost basically what Shannon said. I think it was today. He was like, "Yeah, just every like once or twice in a playoff run, like a team is just going to shoot lights out." And for whatever reason, the Bucks decided last night was the night they were going to shoot lights out.
Mhm.
They were just raining threes down on us. I mean, we didn't stand a chance. Like you said, field goal percentages, we did pretty well. We shot the ball pretty well. We are scoring more points in the playoffs, which is pretty it's a good sign, right? We are definitely picking up and like let me plug my laptop in. We are definitely picking up the pace, really playing better. Guys are catching fire at the right time. And with the loss of Tyler Hero, it's looking like he's not coming back if until the finals if we make it there. So it's nice that guys stepped up. Guys are making shots. But I think what we got caught was, the lack of like effort on defense. Um, it's kind of like hot and cold. Like game one, we come in lock on defense. Um, with even with Giannis, the first couple minutes of the game, we're limited to him building the wall, making the others beat us. That worked really well. And then as soon as Giannis is out, his back was bothering him from that fall he took in game one. Um, the others for the Bucks really stepped up, made some plays, made some threes, and just we're just lacking effort on defense. So we'll see when it comes to game three. We're back in Miami, so I'm expecting the switch to get flipped back on, so we can be locked in on defense and offense. I'm expecting a big game from Hemi Butler, playoff Jimmy. I expect Lowry to step up. Bam is going to keep playing big. And we'll see if Giannis is back. Do you anticipate Giannis being back? I mean, he was upgraded to questionable before the game, but decided to sit it out, which was probably smart because, I mean, the Bucks they're pretty deep. Going down 2-0 isn't the biggest concern to them probably. So, how do you feel about Giannis' status going forward?
To be honest with you, I think they should go one more game without him and see what happens. Um,
Yeah.
I think I think just the shooting alone that the Bucks can use uh, is just I don't want to be like that guy, but it's just too much for the Heat
Mm,
defensively to like try to guard all those shooters. I mean, Grayson Allen and Joe Ingles just shooting threes. I mean, Brooke Lopez can fade out, shoot a three. Uh, Chris Middleton, easy three bucket. Drew Holiday
Bobby.
can score threes when he wants to. Bobby Portis can score threes when he wants to. And if Giannis comes back early and he can't plow through a wall, because if he's playing, the Heat are gonna build a wall. So let's don't even give them the opportunity to build a wall. Like, go with one more game. You've already proved to the other game that you could easily do it. Plus, the Heat having game plan for that kind of
I
clutch
wouldn't
team
say
at all.
easily. They just had one of those games.
Easily handed them. So I mean, I just think that like the Heat aren't game planned heading into the series for that kind of matchup. Like they were planning on playing Giannis and building a wall and making the rest of the team beat them. Okay, well now they can't do that. Now they got a whole entire team coming after them, and then you got to also think about it. Like they're gonna start shooting, or they can't compete field goal percent wise game after game with the Bucks, especially with Hero gone. Um,
Yeah.
and I was looking at the plus minuses, and for some reason, the guy with the highest plus minus was a Duncan Robinson for the Heat. So the man that got no love is out there doing the best in terms of plus minus on the court.
Nah, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think if I'm the Bucks, I'm sitting in one more game. It's not the worst position to be in, down 2-1. We still have game 4 in Miami. Make them come back game 4. Just tie it back up. Head back to Milwaukee. You basically take home court advantage back if you win game 4. If you lose game 3 but win game 4. So I mean, they're in a good spot. If I'm the Heat, I'm game planning for both, but I'm probably on the air of caution. I'm probably game planning for just Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and the others, and just making sure we're closing out on shooters, not giving them space. Rebounding is going to be huge, so we don't get any second chance shots to go back up for them. Um, but yeah, that's what I would do if I'm Spo, and keep playing Duncan. Make sure he gets in the groove, look good. Even though the plus minus says he was the best, I don't really pay any mind to that. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game 3. Um, so moving on, we have the second matchup in the East that is currently tied. We got the Knicks versus Cavs. So Lawrence, tell me a little bit about what you saw in game 2 and what you're looking forward to in game 3.
Oh, I like the idea of not even playing Okoro. They played that man 2 whole minutes, and they played a whole lot better. I mean,
He's a liability. He can't shoot.
Levert is good. I mean, Levert has proven himself for years now that he's respectable. So you got
Yeah.
to put respect on his name. I mean, there's no one that's going to make you go, "Oh my god!" But I mean, that's what you got Donovan Mitchell there for. So yeah, Levert doesn't have to be, "Oh my god." I
Yeah.
mean, it's also nice that I guess something that the Cavs figured out was if I just double team Brunson and I make everyone else do all the work, because they did that as well. They just double team Brunson. That worked
Yeah.
out really well. I guess some of the question marks is Josh Hart okay? Because he shined bright in the first game, didn't show up in the slightest, and I mean in the slightest, defensively, offensively,
Yeah.
mentally, at all in that game. And
Ankles
then
really bother him.
Mitchell Robinson, don't know where he is. So I think this is one of those things I have it written down right here. The Cavs still only played a 7-man rotation.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't understand. It's just like their mentality of we're just going to play 7 guys and by the second round we're going to be exhausted. Um, I that's where I'm kind of confused. Another thing I saw an interesting stat line is Donovan Mitchell this season has shot under 40% twice at Madison Square Garden. So I
Mm.
think going into the game, that's something important to look at because he didn't have the greatest shooting performance last night. But he got it done in assists, so he found a way to do it. However, I think it's one of those things that I guess that kind of goes back to like the Knicks fan base. Like if they lose this game 3, does it quickly get out of hand for them? Because as New York fans go, they turn on their team super quick for some odd reason. And if they give a bad showing in game three, or, you know, they lose, I would say if they have a bad showing in game three at home, are their fans just going to turn on them too? And if that's the case, is this such a pivotal game three then?
Yeah, I think for the Knicks it is. I think you're right on the money. I feel like it's a must win. Even if they lose, they can still come back and win Game 4, and it'll be tied. Which I do think in MSG we will see another split. So I think both teams will win uh, one of these games in Game 3 and 4. But I think the Knicks have to win Game 3. I feel like as the Knicks, you don't want the Cavs to build any momentum. So even though the Knicks kind of played awful in Game 2, I feel like there's a lot they can learn from that performance, especially from Julius Randle. He definitely didn't play like he did in Game 1. He definitely was rushing a lot of his shots, rushing a lot of his passes. Um, just wasn't really playing comfortably. I feel like the Cavs really got him out of his groove, and it shows. I mean, in the box score, I mean, he was 8 of 20. Yeah, he had 22 points, but I mean, that's not a good field goal percentage. 8 rebounds is okay, but I mean, talking about plus minus, he was -7. It's not good. No one on the team was a positive besides McBride, and he only played 3 minutes in garbage time, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, I mean, if you want a game plan to kind of, hey, let's shut down Brunson as much as we can and make the others beat us. Hey, so far in game two, it's been proven that they can do it. We'll see going forward what their game plan is. Will they stay the same, or will they, try to take someone else out the game? Josh Hart he's a big question mark going forward. How does that ankle hold up for a couple of days of rest? And playing it at home, maybe he performs better, maybe not. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a great series so far. I wasn't expecting a blowout. I was expecting more of like a tooth and nail type of game for game two. But I expect game three to be more like game one, down to the wire. And I do have the Knicks winning game three. How about you?
I was going to go back to the Cavs, and that's why I sparked my little debate on if they lose game three in New York. Um, do the home fans turn on you? Because New York fans have proven to turn on their teams all the time, whether it's Jets, Giants,
Doesn't matter.
Islanders, Rangers. Doesn't matter who you are. The New York fans turn on you quick when you can't perform. So I think this is one of those things. I think Josh Hart is kind of the determining factor, because I think now we're going to see it. They're not even going to suit up a Kuro probably. I mean, the coach already made some statements about it. In fact, if he only playing 2 minutes, and he
Yeah,
said
he's
that,
unplayable in this series.
yeah, he said that Okoro, he was a great asset to the season, but he seems that there's other matchups that are better for the team, which is just a kind word of saying, yeah, we're just going to give him the series off, um, let him try to get his head back and come back for the next series. Which, okay, fair. Um,
That's okay, because I mean it happens to some players. Some players, hey, you're just unplayable in a particular series because of a particular matchup, whatever the case is. But hey, we've seen it all the time. We've seen if we go back to last year, we've seen it with Steven Adams. He could play, when they win against the Timberwolves, but as soon as they went up against the Warriors, Steven Adams is unplayable. So it happens. So if you're a Okoro, don't take it like as a slight.
it's okay not to be up to par, especially younger guy. Not his first playoffs, but basically one of his first playoffs, like big series as a higher seeded team. There's no fault in it. You're actually playing a very experienced Knicks team, to be quite fair. I mean, not all the way across the board of the Knicks experience, but certain valuable players that you have to go against are very experienced. So, I wouldn't feel slighted because Karis LeVert's sitting on the bench, and Karis LeVert has been there, done that in a couple playoff series. So
Yeah, nothing to be ashamed of. And you're still a young player trying to find your own little, your own lane within the team and in the NBA. So I wouldn't feel slighted at all. Let's move along to the Western Conference. Let's start with our 4-5 matchup: Suns versus Clippers. Game two was a different outcome. Suns got it done. Um, how do you feel that game went for the Suns? What do you think they changed to make them victorious in game two, Lawrence?
What they changed was Durant and Booker took most of the shots. So shooters, get your shooters to shoot the ball. Um, I don't know. I think it's just an early lead can make things easier, especially trying to figure it out. I mean, tonight there's no Leonard, no George, so that's
Yeah, it's
big.
huge. Yeah.
So they're just running off home court hope. But I think one of the other things was like, okay, I think they got the thought of like the Russell Westbrook intensity down. Like I think that first game, like the hustle he had and everything, just completely confused them. I think the
Yeah,
Suns
shocked them.
they looked like they weren't really prepared for like playoff basketball. Like I guess they're not a complete unit yet, still figuring each other out. Um, but something you know I didn't watch the whole game. It was late, but the box scores showed that like the Suns still barely used any of their bench, and their bench really didn't make much production, even in a huge blowout. Well, not a blowout, but in a huge win. That they were had quite big leads multiple times in the game. So I think that kind of goes back to showing that maybe the Suns aren't fully cohesive, and well, where they're trying to get the guys, Monty Williams is trying to get the guys cohesive on the fly because I got to figure it out in the first series, or I'm not going to make it past the second series.
Yeah, I agree. They're still getting to know each other, still meshing on the court. Um, I feel like for me, I feel like game two, game one for them was a feel out game. And I felt like they felt out the Clippers too much in game one. They got behind and could never just catch up. So in game two, they kind of just like, hey, let's just play our game, play our style. We have the firepower to outscore them. So let's just like put pedal to the metal. And,
Mm.
I feel like they gave the Clippers a good shot in the mouth. Um, was it the Suns' best performance? I don't think so. I think we still have better things to see. I mean, Kevin Durant gave you 10 of 19 for 25. He was plus 10. Aiton played a okay game again. He got more rebounds, and maybe he watched our podcast or heard our podcast how we were like, bro, like 8 rebounds, really? So he grabbed 13 this game. 14 and 13 is pretty good for him. A plus 15. Chris Paul showed up on offense, scored, gave you 16. He was really one thing I noticed about him. He was really taking what the defense gave him. So if he was coming off a pick and roll and they were really like backing off of him, daring him to shoot, which is kind of stupid because Chris Paul is known as a good jump shooter. So it's like you giving the man like 5 feet of space, and he's like slow. So like he's slow and old. Why are you giving him so much space? I mean, he's not going to beat you off the dribble. He doesn't have that quick first step anymore. So whatever that game plan was, I don't know. But Ty Lue needs to fix that. They need to come up and collapse on those pick and rolls, and whoever the defender who goes under needs to come up more. But that's not the here nor there. And Devin Booker carried them. I mean, he had 38 with 9 assists. Very good game for him. Um, so yeah, I think it's one of the Suns' best efforts so far. Game three, I'm looking for similar results. No Kawhi. That game takes place tonight, so no Kawhi. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with a knee. Was it his knee?
Knee sprain,
Knee sprain. So
right knee
that
sprain. I mean, I think moving forward in this series, though, I think the Suns, like, I get it. They're trying to get their starters as a cohesive unit. But, I mean, your second round matchup, if you win, is let's face it, it's probably the Nuggets. Um, the Nuggets have a bench.
Nuggets look unstoppable,
So
even if it's
yeah,
against the Wolves.
yeah. So the problem is you're trying to get your starters cohesive and ready to go and geared for the playoffs, but you're about to play a team in the second round who has a extremely good bench to go along with their starters. So maybe get some love, especially I guess I would say get some love tonight because you're playing a team without Leonard and George. So you better play some bench and you better get those guys on the bench some shots and some action because, well, let's face it, you're going to need it in round two when Kevin Durant has played as if he's playing right now, 40 minutes a night every night. Man's going to be needing some air by game two or three in the second round. So you're going to need your bench
Yeah.
to be there and ready to go. So maybe tonight, if it does get a little out of hand, which we may or may not think it will, then yeah, you need to throw your bench in there and get some action for them.
Yeah, this is, probably the perfect opportunity, like you said, to get those guys like Damian Lee, get Terrence Ross going, get TJ Warren if he's available. I don't know if he's available, but if he's available to play, like get him going. Um, then I mean, they're all veterans, so they don't need the experience per se, but they do need to get into rhythm because you can't just expect a player who hasn't been playing to just come off your bench and give you 15. Like it's not going to happen. Players need to get into rhythm, need to get some action before they can really give you their 110%. Um, so yeah, I think game three is definitely a very easy game for the Suns. Will they win? Probably so, but I wouldn't be surprised if Westbrook carries the Clippers on his back with a, I don't know, 30-point triple double, and somehow they squeak one by, but that's probably not going to happen. So moving along, we have our last matchup to talk about: the Lakers versus Grizz. Another injury-ridden game. We had Ja, who we talked about last episode, injured his hand, was not able to suit up for game two back in Memphis. Lawrence, what were your takeaways from the game? Were you surprised that the Grizzlies played so well without him?
I Yes and no. Like, so they played really good throughout the season when they didn't have him, but they also had other key pieces like Brandon Clark and Steven Adams during those games. So I thought it was pretty impressive. Um, I guess I thought it was pretty impressive that the Heat, I mean, not the Heat, sorry, the Memphis Grizzlies were able to go a 9-man rotation without Ja. So when they
Yeah.
didn't have Ja, or when they did have Ja, they only had a 7-man rotation. But last night they decided to go to a 9-man rotation, and they decided to try to beat them with hustle. So instead of like, we're not going to be able to outshoot them, and you know, we're not on a bit higher level than they are, but we can out hustle them. We can work harder. We can punch them in the mouth early. Did everything that they did correctly. I mean, some things to look out at. Like, I guess I would say no. I wasn't the most surprised because they are a
Hmm.
young team that is willing to fight, and they had some home court behind them. I guess seeing if they did the same thing, I get at the Lakers, I would say I would be shocked. But I mean, I think you're also lucky because Bain and Brooks played with fire. Both of them were in foul trouble a lot of the time, but I mean, you don't have a choice but to keep putting Brooks out there and hoping he doesn't foul out. But I think Tyus Jones, whether people want to talk about it or not, was pretty important. I think he was a big determining factor because if you look at his body of work, he has the highest assist to turnover ratio. So easily, Tyus Jones, like we said before in an old podcast, Tyus Jones could be a starter in any other team. Now, he just happens to play behind John Morant. So I think he fills in that void pretty well. I think as long as the Grizzlies can score enough, because they're missing Joss 30 to 40 a night.
Yeah.
So as long as they can consistently score, and if you can have guys like Xavier Tillman come up and just
Play the game of his life.
just beat up AD all night, then yeah, things can
I
happen.
don't know if he was. I don't know if it was beat up, but he did have the game of his life. I mean,
Who scored 22 and how many AD have? Like 12? 12?
now let's not even talk about street clothes. I'm done with that man. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just embarrassing. Like you let Tillman. I mean, he wasn't guarding Tillman all the time, but him and LeBron let Tillman and Vando. Let's throw Vando in there too. Let Tillman of all people go 22 and 13, uh, 10 of 13 from the field. Like that's ridiculous. Like I mean, I'm more of a Goat James fan than a Lakers fan, but like of course I have to root for the Lakers, and this was just pitiful. I mean, let's just go down the box score for the Lakers. Anthony Davis, 4 of 14, 9 rebounds. Horrible. 5 blocks. Yeah, I expect that from Anthony Davis. He's been playing really well on defense. Vando, 8 points, 7 rebounds. Yeah. We got LeBron. He gave you 28 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists on 12 of 23. Not bad, but 1 of 8. Like, you got to cut that out, Braun. You can't be going 1 for 8, man. D'Lo played horrible. After like a very good game one, he played awful. I mean, he's kind of like that too, in that same category with Anthony Davis. Like one game he has it, the next game he doesn't. I just don't understand. Reeves, he gave me what I'm expecting, anywhere from 12 to 20, and some assists and rebounds. Um, so if I'm the Lakers, I mean, I kind of expected this. I don't know if I said this on podcast, but I definitely said this off air. The Lakers, for them, I was predicting them to kind of take it easy, more of like a feel out game. Like, hey, do the Grizzlies really have enough firepower without Jaw to really like give us a trouble? And I think they got that answered. I think they now know they have to take this team seriously with Jaw or without Jaw because, like you said earlier, they have the talent. They went 9 deep. The Grizzlies did, and all the talent is contributing. It's not like guys are just out there and just going through the flow. Like no, their guys are contributing, giving good minutes. So from the Lakers in Game 3, you're back in Los Angeles, back in the crypt. The pedal has to be to the metal. I mean, you gotta put your foot on the throat. You gotta get this over with. I mean, there's no reason why they can't get this done in 5. I don't expect Jaw to play in Game 3. His hand was all wrapped up. Like I don't think he has, any chance of playing a Game 3. Possibly Game 4, he might push himself to play, but I don't think the Grizzlies are going to let him play Game 3. Except from the Lakers, I got to take advantage of this opportunity. If I'm LeBron, I got to pull AD to the side. Hey man, 13 ain't enough. 9 rebounds ain't enough. You're borderline All NBA player this year. You've been All NBA before. You were the first freaking pick of the NBA draft way back when. Like, come on, bro. You gotta give me more. You're my Robin to my, and I'm Batman. Like, I need my partner. Need my go-to guy. So, uh, and I'm sure he's having those conversations. So I expect the Lakers to win in Game 3. Like I said. What are your predictions for Game 3?
No, I think the Lakers are going to win. I think the Lakers are probably going to win both their games at home. And
Yeah.
I probably think they're going to let the Grizzlies steal one back at home. And it'll be kind of like a gentleman's sweep at that point because then the Lakers will just take it back at home at their home court. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, some way, the the Lakers take their foot off the gas again in like a game 4 or something for some odd reason
Yeah.
that we can't figure out why. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, them and the Heat are very much the same in that aspect. They kind of, flip the switch. Like one game, you're like just mesmerized by the performance, and you're not thinking they're unbeatable, but you're like, wow, like they're really talented. They got a lot going for them. And the next game, they lay an egg, and it's just like, really, like you just played so well the previous game. Why is this possible? So I don't know. We'll see. Well, that's all the playoff action happened the past couple of days. Coming up next, we will finish with rapid fire. So stay
All
tuned.
right, man. So, we're going to talk about a subject close to home for us. Washington Wizards, they decided to, it says part ways, but they fired the guy, the former interim GM turned full time GM. He made some good moves. He was okay. He wasn't the worst thing in the world. There's definitely been worse GMs. Uh,
For sure, for
don't
sure.
want to say names, but there's one in Charlotte. But anywho, um, I mean, it's kind of telling that the Wizards are going to need a president and a GM going into this offseason. So
Yeah.
basically, they're just down to blow it up. And we already talked about the state of the Wizards a few episodes ago. So I mean, let's quickly hit on this real quick between the two of us. I mean, what does this now mean? Is it going to be like a true blow up? You think, and they're just going to scratch build, or they're going to keep pieces and work with what they got with the new regime?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to tell because I think before when we did our breakdown episode 1 of the Wizards, potential offseason moves, I think we both kind of agreed that hey, we have to extend Porzingis and Kuzma.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe don't give them both the max, but if the money works, we extend both of them. But now if you've let go of Tommy Shepard, he's been there for more than 20 years, but for the past 4 years, he's been the de facto GM of the team. And maybe in his game plan, that was going to be the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's re-sign two of our big three running back. Hopefully, they don't get hurt again. Um, but that's all up in the air now with potentially a new president and GM being hired by the owner. And the owner's, for the most part, he's hands off. So it's pretty much going to be up to the new guys who come in the front office to decide the future of this team. Will they, like you said, blow it up? I think the case for blowing it up is probably less than just, you know, let's re sign our two guys and just give it another shot. I feel like that's still the more likely of the scenarios, but whoever comes in has a lot of tough decisions to make. And just looking back at Shepard's history really quickly, he's part of the reason why the Wizards are in the state that they're in right now. I mean, if you look at his past drafts, he's selected Rui, he selected Denny, and this past season he selected Johnny. Have any of them panned out to be what they hoped for? No, not really. Denny's kind of blossomed, but he's more of just like a rebounder and defender. Rui, they gave away for the Lakers for basically, nuts and bolts. It wasn't nothing. So I don't know, Lawrence. It's not looking good for uh, our Wizards fans out there.
No, he's also the one who broke up the Beal Wall tandem as well. So at least he
Yeah,
had the courage to go ahead and do that one. But yeah, moving forward, I mean that this is going to be an interesting, I guess, rebuild for this team because I mean I guess it's debatable. Is Washington a small market team, a big market team? You could say it's like in the middle, but
yeah,
they have a good fan base, so that shouldn't be the main problem following the team.
yeah. They can fill the arena. They can fill Capital One. Definitely like a mid market. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for them. Next up, we have Houston. These rumors about Houston not taking a quarterback in the first round are really starting to heat up. Lawrence, do you think it's just smokescreen, or do you actually believe that, hey, if their guy is not there, or they're just really feeling one of these top defenders like Will Anderson?
Well, it's a defensive coach, so maybe they are feeling a defensive guy. I find it hard to believe though, because if he's a defensive coach, he should be able to figure it out based on the pieces he has. Because Houston's problem last year wasn't the defense. Defense was okay. Defense wasn't good, but it had pieces. Um, but like the offense is just absolutely needs help bad.
Yeah,
So I mean, if you're going into it, maybe it's not that they're moving away from a quarterback. Maybe it's I don't know, maybe they're trying to get someone else to move up in the draft to try to take that pick away in order to get some more draft capital. Or, I mean, something I've talked to you about is the stock of CJ Stroud going down. Uh, I mean, there's other rumors out there about a Manning camp that you told me about, or I just think one of the things is like I guess watching. I know I'm not watching film, but like hearing people talk about it is like the Ohio State playbook isn't hard. It's extremely easy, and he doesn't have to memorize, like a script or anything. Like he gets the play called from him on the side, and it's basically in like it's like oh it's number 13 or something like that. So like he doesn't have like an extremely hard playbook that he was learning or using while Ohio State, and then it makes like other guys look better, like Will Levis. Like guy already has a good bazooka arm, already looks pretty great on paper. Anthony Richardson already looks really good on paper, but both those guys had way more complex offenses that they were running in college. So maybe those are some of the reasons why, like, okay, maybe we do like Stroud, but these two other guys are just as good. Let's not kid ourselves. Panthers are going Bryce Young, so what are our options now? Like, do we think CJ Stroud is that guy to blow us off our feet and take us to the promised land? Maybe we just go full force on defense this draft, and a draft coming up, we go quarterback because there's always got to be a one quarterback in every draft. So, I mean, maybe maybe yeah, was it Demarco Ryan's? Maybe
Yeah.
he's got it. Maybe he's just like, okay, I'm gonna go what the Panthers did like 3 years ago, and we're just gonna pick 8 guys in 7 rounds, all defense. Maybe he's just like, I'm gonna make my defense killer. We're gonna be in some games. We're gonna shut some people down, and we'll score 17 points and maybe win.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, and the more that I think about it, I mean, he doesn't really have an incentive to really like go and get a quarterback because you could easily get a defensive player. Say you get a Will Anderson, or even if you trade down, maybe the Colts want to move up, or hey, maybe the Raiders or someone gets desperate, someone further down in the 6, 7, 8, 9 range gets desperate, they move up to two. They want CJ Stroud here. Give me some draft capital. I move back. If I'm Houston, if I still can get Jalen Carter, if Will Anderson's still there, or maybe that guy from Texas Tech, I think, whose his stock
Mm-hmm.
is kind of going up too. Hey, like you said, like maybe DeMarco, he just wants to build defense his way, so he's going to go after guys he wants instead of the guys that are already there. So he doesn't really have an incentive to get a quarterback. As I know that's like silly to say that, but I think you said this an episode or two ago. Like you don't really have to get a QB this draft. Caleb Williams is coming out next year, so maybe you go after him. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
Houston, if you get a defensive guy, you're still gonna be bad. So I mean, it's still a chance you can get Caleb next year. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that's in my eyes. I feel like it's a good move to go defensive.
Yeah, I think it's a fine move to go defensive. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you can make your defense tough enough that people can't score at will on you, you'll still win some games here and there. Like all you gotta do sometimes is score seven. It's like 17 points, and I mean the New York Jets did it with Mark Sanchez for the longest time. They would score 17, 20 points, and that's all they needed was to win a game. So, yeah, I mean, there's teams that have done it in the past, and he's a defensive coach, so maybe that's what he's like. That's his thought process is I'll make my defense really good, and either during the season, end of the season, I'll fix my quarterback problem. But I'm new at this. I'm gonna go straight to what I know first, and that's making a killer defense.
Yep, I agree 100%. But I still think they take a wide out with their. I think they have pick 17 or something. I
Mm-hmm.
still think they go wide out because I still think, hey, if you don't draft the quarterback next year, hey, that's all fine. But let me at least draft him like a weapon that he can, come into next year. Like, oh, you already have like your number one wideout, or if they want to take a tight end, go tight end. Oh, there's your number one tight end. I still think you need to do that. Don't you agree?
I mean, that moves us into our other idea of Allen Robinson going to the Steelers. I mean, they got a Kenny Pickett coming back for his second year, and okay, Deontay Johnson proved he was all right. He was very good, very good. Well, now we're going to put Allen Robinson right next to him, and one of them's going to get double teamed now. Probably Allen Robinson. So now we're going to have the Speedster getting more open. Pickens will have an easier time. I think Allen Robinson just opens the field up more for the younger guys. Um, I guess it's a good move for the Steelers. I guess it's probably a good move for Allen Robinson. I think his production might not be as high as it could be with a different team, but I think he provides production for the younger guys. And I think that's maybe all the Steelers want, is to get their younger guys production. And you got a guy like Allen Robinson on the field, and you can make him look a little bit scary to certain teams. Yeah, we're going to start focusing on Robinson, or maybe we're like, okay, we'll take away Robinson. Your young guys will have to beat us, and that's the only way for them to grow.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a twofold answer here. They could use the wide out depth, but also they're a really young team, so I think they do need some veteran leadership in that locker room, just to kind of hold them accountable, teach them the ropes of the NFL. He's a proven guy, proven vet, um, and maybe now he has a quarterback that will throw to him. His previous
Mm-hmm.
quarterback only threw to the white guy, so I don't know. Maybe his stats should look better this season.
Possibly, yeah.
um, but yeah, I think it's a good move for him. I mean, obviously the fit on the Rams wasn't good, and it wasn't because Matthew Stafford doesn't throw to black guys. It was just because I think they just never got their chemistry down pat, and I feel like Stafford got hurt halfway through anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it was just wasn't the right timing. I feel like maybe during their Super Bowl run, he would have been more of like a benefactor for that. But um, shout out to Allen Robinson. That's a good move for him. Still not beating these guys right here. Expect the Bengals to win the division again next year.
Well, for sure, yeah, probably.
All right. That concludes Rapid Fire for today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. As always, you can catch us on YouTube and Spotify. And also, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Twitter at MTL Sports Podcast. Lawrence, any closing thoughts or ideas before we head out?
Um, no, not tonight. I think I'll have one on our next show. I just need to get my bearings a little bit more on the NHL postseason. And I think I'm going to have some wild plays for everybody, because I think this NHL postseason is actually stirring up to have a good show. Uh, as we speak, Vegas Knights don't know what they want to do, and Colorado Avalanche are making a comeback. So I think the NHL postseason is going to be a great one. They're definitely trying to make it spicy. Let's be realistic here. They're definitely making it spicy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to keep up with NHL as well, just watching highlights and whatnot. And it's looking, let's say, it may not be as exciting to me as the NBA playoffs, but I'm sure it's still plenty of cool things happening. But I'm surprised you're not dropping any gems. I know you're 1-0. You're not going to drop any gems this episode. Any
Well,
plays?
hmm, well,
I know we're kind of late, but
we want to get into the plays. I guess my play will be. I'm going to hammer it again. I'm going to take the Boston Bruins, the 60-minute money line. Last time I took the Carolina Hurricanes 60-minute money line at home, but I'm going to take the Boston Bruins after just getting smashed at home versus the Florida Panthers. I would take the Boston Bruins 60-minute money line to just give. I wouldn't say the Panthers payback. I don't think the Bruins are going to smash the Panthers at their home on the first game. But I definitely see them winning and without overtime.
Okay, is this for tonight's game or tomorrow's game?
Tomorrow night's game. So one
Oh,
day out.
all right. So when this video goes live, guys, make sure you take Lawrence's advice and or not. Maybe you fade him, and we'll see next episode if he will come out 2-0 or will he be tied 1-1. But yeah, sounds good. Well, thank you guys again. This is the MTL Sports Podcast. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you next episode.
See you on the
Peace
flip
out.
side.